Hey everybody, so today what we want to do is, I'm down here in the corner if you can see me on the bottom, okay? We're going to go ahead and wrap up this Premiere Pro project. What I'm going to do is just go straight to it because the screen's a little acting up a little bit right now. And so we'll just go straight to the project, and hopefully you're seeing the project and hearing me right in front of you. So what we've done so far, just to recap, we have obviously created a new project. And we've done a little tour and everything. And so we use this project window to, first of all, create bins, right, which are folders by clicking on here and creating a new bin. We gave it the name Still Pictures. We went inside of the Still Picture bin, and in that we imported our pictures by double-clicking in this space over here. That opened up our folders. And as we opened up our folders, it populated this with our pictures, which we're able to move around in the order that we want. We then moved these pictures to our timeline right over here. All right, but before we did that, we also included our After Effects title. So as you can see right here, we have a broken link to mine, and I think I accidentally deleted it, so I can't put it back in my project, but yours should have yours and trimmed the way that I showed you earlier. So here is a broken link, so we're not going to be able to use it. You'll see our bin with our still pictures, and right here is kind of a composition window where you're kind of seeing our project as it exists right now. This actually is important, and its location over here, so we'll be using that later. The other thing we did, of course, was we added transitions in between each clip, crossfades, page peels, etc. And additionally, we added some effects, all right? Some zoom in, zoom out effects, which were called scale. We've also changed position, which meant that we, on some of our pictures, like this one right here, we'll see our position and scale, a combination of the two, where we went from one side to the other. And this effect you need to add to at least 4 pictures. Now, the thing that I'm going to show you real quick, learned as I was playing around with this project right here. Let's take a look at this great picture of autumn. So here's the picture. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it appears in this area right here. This picture, as you can see, has no keyframes, no change in position or scale. And this right here represents our picture from beginning to end, this whole purple area right here. This area right here on the edges represents the crossfade in and crossfade out. So you know that when we look at the picture, when we go all the way to the beginning to our first keyframe, we're actually seeing our previous picture. And when we go to our last keyframe, we're seeing our next picture. But since this is the only picture that's highlighted here, that's selected, we're only adding effects to this picture. No matter what we do here, it's only adding effects to the picture that's highlighted. So not the picture of Max and not the pictures from the younger days, all right? So we can go ahead and make changes without even really seeing what we're doing, which is not preferable. Ideally, you want to eliminate the crossfade or cross dissolve and work where you can see what you're doing. So in the future, what I would recommend is add these elements first, the position and the scale first, and then add your transitions. So it's a little sea change from or paradigm shift from the way we used to do things in the past. So in this case, what we can do is, again, we're doing this picture of autumn, and we want it to start moving right from the very beginning. So we're just going to go ahead and move. This last picture, as you can see, is zooming out. We're zooming in. So we're going to go ahead and with the picture of autumn, we're going to have her zoom out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a keyframe right here, scale, and you can see that the keyframe appeared right here. And in this case, we're going to scale her up to about, let's say, 150. Actually, bigger than that because she's quite far away. Okay, all right. Now we're going to move our cursor all the way to the last frame or the last keyframe. We're going to go ahead and create a keyframe here simply by either clicking this little dot right here. And since it's white, there's no keyframe there, so we can add a keyframe, or simply just by changing this number. And I'm going to change this to 110. That way we're a little bit zoomed in still, so she's not so far away. And as I hit my tab button on my keyboard, a keyframe will appear right here. And here we go. Okay, so you see that keyframe. So now Autumn will zoom. We'll be zooming out. Okay, all right. Very good. So just something new that I'm gonna do for you. Now I'm gonna go ahead and collapse this. Bring it back to its original size just by double clicking inside again, inside the header. And what I'm going to do is, like we did last time, we downloaded music from Free Play Music. So now what we're going to do is we're going to import our music to our project window. So I'm going to make sure that nothing is highlighted just by clicking out of it. Before this was highlighted, now I'm clicking out of it. And I'm going to create a new bin called music, because we want to keep everything organized. So in this case, music. Hope I spelled it correctly. Hit enter. Okay. Double click just to get inside of the music bin. Double click again inside of this project window. And when we double click, it's going to open up my folder. And inside my folder, I'm going to be able to access the music. All right. So again, when I unzipped the music, I downloaded it from freeplaymusic.com. I unzipped it, and then I sent it to the SD card. SD, that's where the music is, inside Premiere Pro, inside Slideshow Project, inside Music, and inside, again, Be Thrilled is the name of the album, and these are the 3 clips that downloaded, a 30-second, a 60-second, and a 2-minute long. When I click the 2-minute long, that's the one I want to import. And again, you see just an album cover. I'm going to hit open, and it's going to import right here to into our bin. All right, it's inside the music bin. We're not going to make any changes to this this music. We'll do changes to music when we learn about Audition. So for now, we're just going to drag this like we've done with our music clips, and I'm going to start at 0. So I'm going to hit 0, enter. That takes my cursor to the very beginning of the project, and I'm going to drag this into our audio window or our audio track and release. So you can see the waveform inside. I'm going to double click my music header, and just to expand it just like we see, because stereo, and stereo means there's a left channel and a right channel, and you see right here the letter L and the letter R. So they're slightly different because this is a stereo track. All right, that's not so important right now. What's important is that where does it end? So if I go all the way to the end of my project, you see that I have my last picture end right here at 1 minute and 5 seconds, and there's still music. So you do not want to finish the project here. You don't want to render here, because what happens is that if you render at this position, you're going to get music and just a blank screen. And that is bad. That's bad production. So what we want to do is we want to make our music shorter. How do we make our music shorter? Well, it's a very easy thing to do. The first thing you want to do is make sure that your selection tool is highlighted. Then you want to make sure the audio track is highlighted. Now I'm going to bring my cursor. You can hear the music as I scrub across. Scrubbing is just moving this cursor back and forth. If I hit play, we're going to hear this music. But again, this is too long. So what do we do at this point? Well, let's go ahead and zoom in. And again, remember, as you zoom in, the position of the cursor will position itself. The cursor will position itself right in the middle of this window. So we're going to zoom out a little bit now. All right, it's always good. The autosave is always a good thing. We're going to zoom out, move this over. Here's the end of our audio track. Now, again, with the selection tool selected, we're going to hover into this, go all the way to the right to the end of the music clip, and you're going to see a parentheses with an arrow in. All right, and this allows us now to select the end of the music and drag it inward. If you go right here, it's going to see parentheses and out. that's not really going to do anything for you. It's going to be parentheses, arrow in, click down on the mouse, and drag it all the way in this direction. You're going to get to the very last clip at 1 minute and 5 seconds. All right, you stop there, and just drag it over until you can feel it snap right into this position right there. Release your mouse, and you see that the music and the video are both in the same position. I'm going to hit play, and you're going to see our video fade out, but our music is going to end abruptly. Okay, well, so far so good. It looks good, but if you look on the rubric, the music has to fade. So how do we make the music fade? We use these crossfade effects for video. We can use the same types of effects for audio. So in order to do that, we're going to go into our effects right here, just like we did with our video. Click effects, and you see we do have some audio effects. And we also have some audio transitions. And this is an audio transition, like a video transition. It's a crossfade of sorts. In this case, we're going to use this exponential fade. We're just going to drag this over to the end of our clip, just like we did with our video, and release it right here, and you will see that the time coincides with the cross-dissolve time of our video. So if you hit play, you're going to see that our audio will fade at exactly the same rate as our video. And that's a better way of ending your project than having the music abruptly end. Again, if you check the rubric, you want the music and the video to fade both at the same time. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and collapse our audio track. We've added our audio. And of course, shorter than what you produced it. It should be around 8 seconds. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to hit play. Now, we don't do a cross dissolve to start the music because music generally has a natural starting position that the composer put in there for effect. Sometimes there's some talking, like if you know the album Thriller, there's the song Thriller, there's a lot of talking at the beginning. So usually we trim out all that talking if we're using a song like that. But in this case, we'll just hit play and see what we have. Okay, so I'm not going to force you to watch through this whole preview right here, but I would strongly recommend that you preview your project. And when you think it looks good and it's done and it meets all the parameters of the rubric, you're going to hit save. And at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to export it, and we're going to add it to an application called Adobe Media Encoder. And Media Encoder is a wonderful application which Adobe has created, which allows you to convert files into file formats, if you will, into other files. So let's say, for example, somebody records something on their iPhone, and you download it, and you can't play it on your Windows computer. Well, why? Because iPhone uses an MOV type of file, or sometimes an M4A, which makes it very proprietary. That means that you have to play it on an Apple computer or on your iPhone. Well, guess what? Media Encoder will change all those files into a file you can use for Windows. And in this case, in our new world of high definition and YouTube, we want to change all our files and play them back as MP4s. And so we're going to use Media Encoder to create our file, our program, our video rendered down. So that's a new term, rendering. So our file or our video will be rendered into an MP4. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to, obviously we just saved. We're going to go to Murphy Slideshow Project. We'll scroll up. And we'll hit that right there. We're going to highlight our project. So this is our project with all the parts built into it already. Right? You can see the new effect that I added to Autumn's picture. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Export, and we're going to export media. As you export media, it's going to open up a window right here where you can change some settings. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to send this project directly to Adobe Media Encoder, where I'm going to let Media Encoder do the rendering. So I'm not going to do anything here. I'm just going to hit Q. And when I hit Q, that sends this project to Media Encoder. And it will open up Media Encoder down here. Adobe Media Encoder has now opened up, and it's done it by itself. And as it opened up, what you will see is you also see various windows. And there's a lot of stuff here that you can get familiar with if you want to, but the thing you really need to worry about, and the thing that you will use all year, is this window, the Q window right here. Remember when we were in Adobe Premiere Pro, we clicked the button that said Q? Well, it sent it to the Q, and the Q is now an Adobe Media Encoder. So this is where, if you want to encode or render a lot of different things, let's use that term render or rendering, you would import them or open them up in here. And you can import anything just by clicking the plus button here at source, and that will take you would go to your window and select the file that you want to bring in. This is, of course, from Premiere Pro, and it's the file that we have created. So we have to change some settings. The first is the source setting right here, H264. We're not even going to touch that. We're going to leave that alone. We're not doing nothing. We're not doing nothing. We're doing nothing with that. The next is we are going to change this, which is our what our project will render as. So we're going to click this drop-down button right here, and you see a lot of different options, including if you want to render something to play on Facebook, or to upload to Facebook, to upload to your mobile device, to upload to Twitter, Vimeo, etc. But in our case, remember, we're uploading things to YouTube, and YouTube is very important. If you want to be a YouTuber, you have to render things and send them to YouTube. And so you go all the way down here because it's alphabetical. And we're not doing 4K because YouTube really doesn't upload things in 4K, but it does upload things in 1080 full HD. So we will click on this. And when we click on that, you'll see that this changed. Now, if I hover over it, you're going to see the settings. YouTube 1080 full HD is what it's called, and it's a 1920 by 1080 window size. 30 frames per second, we've already talked about that. All right, so that's our digital video frame rate. Progressive scanning, because it's high definition. And then there's some other stuff about encoding and the codec, something that you don't really need to know right now. And then you've got something called bitrate, and the last thing is audio, and it's going to render as an AAC audio, and it could render it as MP3, but AAC, 320 kilobytes per second, and 40 kilohertz in stereo. Remember, our audio was left and right channel, so it will render it in stereo. That means that left and right speakers will play back in stereo, which means that you get different sound in the left speaker and the right speaker as the artist had intended. The last thing right here is our window. That's its destination. We're going to click on that because, again, we're going to send it to our jump drive. Or in my case, I don't have a jump drive, but I'm using an SD card right here, right? And inside my SD card is our folders, and I'm using Premiere Pro, my Slideshow project, and here are already rendered projects. Now, I did try and render this before, and my computer crashed, and this was the one that I rendered. So this is incomplete project. And actually, I'm going to give it a different name. This one I'm going to, I'm going to render it right here. Murphy Slideshow project, okay? And again, it should have my last name and the project title, okay? Slideshow project. I'm going to override this one that messed up earlier. You won't have one in there, so you won't be overriding anything. But again, it should be your last name, Slideshow project, and you'll see right here it's going to save it as an MP4. That's the only option that's available. Hit save, and like I said, I'm overwriting, and you'll see that it's appeared here. So now we've got our source, what we're rendering it as, and our destination. The last thing we need to do is push this start rendering or start queue button right here. So once we click that green arrow, you look on the bottom where it says encoding right down here. And as the project encodes, if you see video here, it's going to be doing what it's doing. Now, you can see now that our zoom in is applied. Now we've hit not a snag, but we've hit a transition. As it hits transitions or effects, our rendering bar will slow down. Once it gets to just a picture or a still picture with no effects, it'll speed up, as you can see. When we get to our next transition, it'll slow down again. The important thing is that here's our total time. It's going to take 4 minutes and 3 seconds to encode or render this entire project. So again, you can spend some time viewing it here, and as long as you see something here and your computer doesn't crash, you're in good shape. So in about 3.5 minutes, this project will be done. This countdown might go faster. As you can see, we've gone from 4 minutes to 3 minutes and 4 seconds in no time at all. I'm not gonna make you sit here and watch this, all right? So when it's done, I'll continue with. Well, at this point, it appears that our project has completed, it is done encoding. You should get a little check mark here. Mine has a warning only because a piece of it was missing at the beginning. So you should just see a check mark here, and you should be good to go. So at this point, what you want to do is you want to open up your folder where your project is located. You want to preview it. Just double-click the project or open it with Windows Media, with Windows Video Viewer or something like that, and make sure that you preview it. You'll have an MP4 in front of you, and you will just go ahead and submit that to Google Classroom. So once again, this project is now completed, and again, submit the MP4 after you've previewed it to make sure it's okay. A lot of students don't look at it, and they end up missing things, and they get poor grades. So this project will take you approximately 1 minute and 5 seconds to preview, and I'm sure you have enough time in your life to be able to make sure you get as good a grade as possible. Not trying to be snarky, but we're trying to create good projects and have get quality grades, right? All right, guys, so that is the slideshow project, and good luck as you create your own.